reflects on this meeting with Drake, mentioning how Drake introduced him to the glitz and glamour of celebrity life. Kendrick described being picked up in a Maybach by Drake and states that Drake brought him to a fancy place to eat where he talked to Kendrick about women and the industry. However, on the track, Kendrick truly struggles with the idea of becoming famous as he's afraid it will change him for the worse, but he also realizes that this type of lifestyle comes with the territory. Now, what's extremely critical to point out is how Kendrick ends off the track.
The reason why the highlight was when he said you belong to the people when you outside.
So he clearly says that's what he said. Now, who is he? Who's he talking about?
So take a shovel full of money, full of power, full of pussy, full of fame, and bury yourself alive. Then I died.
What most people fail to realize is that these last few lines is not Kendrick speaking to himself, but Drake having a conversation with Kendrick. And this is the part that's really important. When asked by Double XL to explain the meaning of why the track ended like this, Kendrick said the following. At the end of the verse, that's him in the conversation. Him telling me that you must accept this lifestyle and it's up to you how far you're going to go with it or how much you're going to let in. I then acknowledge what he's saying when I say, then I died, which leaves it hanging on the audience trying to figure out where I would go with it. Will I let it taint me or destroy me? Or will I know how to deal with it? So I mean, it's on this night, June 16th, where Drake is giving Kendrick a pep talk about fame, the industry, how to deal with it. This Buried Alive interlude is important because Drake gives Kendrick a choice. He tells him that fame will come and that it's up to him on how he deals with it. But the thing is, Kendrick wasn't the only person who needed to make this choice. This whole thing rings true for Drake as well because Drake had the exact same choice to make, and after Take Care, his fame exploded and he was completely consumed by it. Drake's lifestyle in 2024 isn't that much different from the lifestyle that he showed Kendrick back in 2011. Drake is still living that same old rapper's life, it's just on a far bigger scale. Now, in the case of Kendrick, he ended off the record making us wonder which way he'd go with it, and today, we now know what choice he made. Unlike Drake, Kendrick did not get buried by the temptations of money, power, pussy, and fame. Both artists took an entirely different route, and the Buried Alive interlude is important because it acts as a full circle moment. By Kendrick using the date June 16th in the title, Drake knows exactly what he's referring to, and bringing this up 13 years later is extremely powerful. Kendrick proved to have the strength to resist the temptations that Drake warned him about, and Drake himself was weak and couldn't do the same. Now I gotta say, Drake flips this narrative really well on Family Matters, but that one's coming up next. So when we get a track like Euphoria, all these years later, the shit that he's saying to Drake is all the more impactful.
I'm allergic to the lame shit, only you like being famous.
Fans might take lines like this one lightly, but it holds a lot of depth because Kendrick knows that when he first met Drake, Drake had plans of keeping a level head, as that's what their conversation was about. This is only further confirmed in the Double XL interview when he talks about Drake and the concept of the Buried Alive track. I felt like he was in a space now where vanity's everywhere, and he had his hands on every bit of it, and he's trying to escape that. But what's clear today is Drake lost this fight. I mean, he didn't escape it at all.
It's a 2004 Acura TSX. It's a nice first car for like a teenager, I guess, as opposed to a Mercedes or BMW. I think that's pretentious, personally.
And this is exactly why Kendrick uses June 16th in the title and why it's so significant. It's by far the most significant use of the title. 616, the day that they first met, the first collaboration they did, Drake's sophomore album, an entire record was made about that moment. Now we're 13 years later, and it's coming up again. And like I said, Drake knew exactly what he was doing with this title, because just days after 616 in LA dropped, Drake posted a Buried Alive Part 2 parody song where he mocks Kendrick and flips the narrative again.
If you in a pine box, that's how you felt in 2011 while we wasting time. Dreams come true, Crody, this is where you die.
Let's fucking go. Come on, hit the like button. However, 616 in LA could possibly be in reference to allegations of Drake being involved with younger women. As you guys know, Drake goes by the Six God, and 16-year-old girls for him might just be prime real estate. That is the allegations. Allegations. Now, this is only further supported when we look at a young woman by the name of Bella Harris. Bella is an LA-based model who even at the age of 13 stood at a height of 5'10", and she skipped the teen division of modeling and moved directly up to the women's division. So get this, at the age of 13, this child is being like categorized and showcased as a full-grown woman.
When I was about 13, I was really tall. I was like 5'9", and everyone's like, oh my God, how old are you? I'm 12 and 13.
And back in 2018, the internet went crazy as Drake was spotted with a then 18-year-old Bella taking pictures that resembled that of a happy couple. This shit feels like teenage fever. However, Drake has ties with Bella that dates back to 2016, and given Kendrick's angle throughout this beef, I think this is what he's talking about. This is a picture of Drake and Bella at Rihanna's Anti-World Tour. As you can see, the date of this photo is May 5th, 2016, and when we look at Rihanna's tour history, she was indeed in LA for that date. Then when we look at the fact that Bella had literally just turned 16, just 1 month before this photo was taken, it's all the more compelling. 616 in LA, Drake the Six God was indeed with a 16-year-old girl in LA. And I mean, Kendrick said he had 5 more diss tracks in stock, and I believe him. I think he was about to get far deeper into this shit, had this thing kept going. Furthermore, Kendrick dropped the record at 6:16 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is 6:16 in LA. Then we got the fact that June 16th is Tupac's birthday, and considering that we've seen a few references to Pac in this beef already, this one seems to make sense.
Kendrick, we need ya.
Next, June 16th is Father's Day, and we have seen a slew of references with respect to Drake and being a shitty dad, and also jabs towards the fact that Drake's own father was absent.
You don't know nothing about that.
And of course, Drake also executive produced the hit show Euphoria, and the first episode of that show aired on June 16th. And that's as far as I'm going to go with the title. There's a lot of theories out there, but these are the ones that make sense to me. With all that said, let's move on to the artwork, which is simply a cropped out version of the artwork that we would see on Meet the Grams, where Kendrick allegedly had an inside mole collecting Drake's personal items and feeding him information. And this whole thing with the artwork and these items, like this turned into this really grew legs after. It turned into this whole other conversation. So we've got the title, we've got the artwork, now let's move to the beat selection. First and foremost, the track is co-produced by Jack Antonoff, who is a pop producer most known for his work with Taylor Swift. This is likely a troll on Drake's previous claims on Taylor Made, where he insinuated that Taylor Swift had all this power over Kendrick. Now, what I feel Kendrick is really trying to drive home here by using this producer is that just like the culture of hip-hop, even high-level people within the industry itself do not like Drake and are more than happy to help bring him down. I think Kendrick's just leaning into it. Like, yeah, I am friends with Taylor, and she's co-signing this diss. She doesn't like you. Her producer doesn't like you. Nobody likes you. Like, this is a tailor-made diss for you. The instrumental samples Al Green's song What a Wonderful Thing Love Is, and Drake's Uncle Teeny Hodges is credited as playing guitar on that record. However, what makes it even more impressive is the fact that Kendrick sampled Teddy Pendergrass on Euphoria, and now he's sampling Al Green, and they both had an album together called Back to Back Hits, feeding even more into Kendrick's claims that he was going back to back on Drake. And people say that Kendrick fans are reaching all the time, but this is clearly thought out. I mean, these records were very, very well planned. With all that said, we can now finally get into the lyrics of the song. Actually, I'm just kidding. No lyrics yet, because did you hear that noise? Like, what in the fuck is that? People were claiming that this sound was from the V12 liposuction machine, which was something that Kendrick referenced on Euphoria, but when you really listen to that machine in action, it doesn't sound like this at all. And the main reason why this video took so long is because I got extremely subject stuck on finding out what the sound was. First, I thought that it could be a money counter. I thought maybe it's a lie detector test. Then I was thinking it was one of those old 16 mil projectors. Then I was thinking maybe it could be a life support machine. I was manipulating an equalizer, changing the pitch, adding plugins, still couldn't narrow it down. And if it wasn't for my girlfriend, I would probably still be doing it right now because she had to tell me, look, Matt, it's time to move on. It drove me crazy because there's no way that Kendrick's looping that sound for as long as he did. And it means nothing. Like, it means something. And Drake's probably the only one who's going to pick up on it. However, something I do feel fairly confident about is that if you really listen to the beat closely, Kendrick chooses to chop up the Al Green sample and loops it so that it sounds like he's saying, Boy Wonder. Now, you gotta remember, this track is in response to the Push Ups record, where Drake sampled the drop from Who Kid. And as we know now, this drop turned out to have a hidden message that flew over all of our heads, as Drake will later announce that Kendrick's child might not be his.
I heard that one of them little kids might be day free.
And for that reason, I feel like it's on this track where Kendrick is using one of Drake's close producers to also send some sort of message. By using this little sample, I feel like Kendrick is trying to get inside Drake's head to cast doubt on who the mole could be in his camp. Drake commonly refers to himself as the boy, and in this case, I think Kendrick is asking Drake to think. Kendrick got the boy wondering, like, I wonder who's leaking all my info, I wonder who's the mole. Like, boy, I wonder who's doing all this shit.
It's survival.
So right off rip, Kendrick references Drake's track Survival. Now, Survival came at a time when Drake was fresh off his loss from Pusha T, and he was still heavily beefing with Pusha and Kanye at this time. As you guys remember, Drake allegedly had a career-ending red button diss for Pusha and Kanye, but he held it back, and it's on the Survival track where he appears to make mention to wanting to drop it.
I was about to, man, I thought about it. It's unsettling to talk about it.
So Drake leaves a blank in this record, and it's up to the listener to interpret what this could mean. But the way that I see it, he was either talking about putting a hit on Pusha and Kanye, or he just really wanted to drop that track, but it was so scathing that it was unsettling for him to even think about where he was about to go with it.
Simply because it crossed the line of music.
Either way, the common denominator in this case with respect to Kendrick is the fact that Drake is now saying the exact same thing to him. Again, Drake is making claims that he has some lethal secret, threatening to drop it.
This ain't even everything I know, don't wake the demon up.
However, Kendrick's own senses are telling him that Drake is lying, as he claims that he thinks, smells, and sees the bullshit coming, and just like the alleged held back Pusha diss, Kendrick claims he sees no fire. I feel like he's saying, you were bullshitting then, now you're trying to pull the same stunt again, you're full of it.
Off-white Sunseeker had the marina. Fuck a phantom, I like to buy yachts when I get the fever.
So right away here, any seasoned Drake fan will tell you that when it comes to timestamp records, Kendrick is clearly matching Drake's subject matter stylistically.
Is there more to life than going on trips to Dubai? Yachts on the 4th of July, G5 soaring the skies. I roll big body, wide body, Calabasas, road wander, sun shining, wax tires.
But here's the thing, I don't think Kendrick's rapping from his own perspective here at all. I think he's rapping as if he were Drake. 13 years ago, Kendrick ended off the Buried Alive verse speaking in the perspective of Drake, and I feel he's now circling back to do that again.
Off-white Sunseeker had the marina. Fuck a phantom, I like to buy yachts when I get the fever.
So, rapping in the perspective of Drake, he says Off-White Sunseeker. Now, this would be in reference to one of Drake's close friends, Virgil, who not only had the designer brand Off-White, but also, during a 2022 Louis Vuitton fashion show, the background music for that show was an album by Tyler, the Creator, called Sunseeker. And this was Virgil's baby. This was his show. He directed it, and rest in peace to Virgil. Secondly, a Sunseeker at the marina is in reference to a company called Sunseeker, which is a builder of luxury.
From battery issues, to flat tires, to keys locked in your car, AAA's affordable roadside assistance is there for you 24/7, 365. Join now at AAA.com/member. Roadside assistance is provided by independent facilities contracted by AAA. Coverage in taxis, limousines, and other ride-sharing conveyances is excluded. Offers, terms, conditions, and policies are subject to change without notice. Visit AAA.com/member for details. Savings partners subject to change.
Phantom is a model of car from Rolls-Royce that Drake not only owns multiple variations of, but he's mentioned the Phantom in at least 10 different tracks over the years, maybe even more.
Now I'm in the Rolls with illuminated angel. All my Rolls Royces got a different body facts. Bought a white ghost, now shit is getting spooky. Leg hanging out the fan on.
However, Kendrick is painting it as if the Phantom is no longer scratching the itch for Drake. He needs to go bigger, which is exactly what he did when he rented the Ocean Corel yacht in 2022.
No one will say for sure how much Coral Ocean is worth, but I can tell you it's well north of $100 million.
When Drake rented this yacht, he was going all over the place. Like, he was traveling everywhere. Now, here's where things take a turn and get a lot darker. Following up on his previous line about yachts, he claims that he likes to buy yachts when he gets the fever, and the Fever is another builder of luxury yachts. Now, this is where it goes left. The Sunseeker has another line of yachts called the Predator, and as we know, Drake has a song called Teenage Fever. Now, where it gets crazy is when we look at Drake's relationship with Millie Bobby Brown. Here she is with Drake on a yacht at the young age of 13. This photo was taken in 2017, shortly after his More Life album dropped, which had the track Teenage Fever, and coincidentally enough, the media was categorizing the More Life album as yacht rap. Now, to put the cherry on top, where was this picture taken? At a marina. Think about it. Sunseeker has a yacht called the Predator. Drake's More Life album was being called yacht rap. It had a track called Teenage Fever. He's with a 13-year-old girl on a yacht, and in this picture, they're at a marina. This is not a coincidence at all. It's not. And Kendrick drops plenty of little clues here just in how he pronounces certain words, and if you pay attention to how he says, I like to buy yachts, he's actually making a reference to Dubai yachts.
Fuck a phantom, I like to buy yachts when I get the fever.
Is there more to life than going on trips to Dubai? Yachts on the 4th of July.
And back in 2015, Drake was very happy to announce that he was on a yacht in Dubai. And if you're familiar with Kendrick's catalog, you'll know that he does shit like this a lot in his writing.
Wine cooler spill on my white t-shirt, a sightseer.
So again, Kendrick is rapping as if he were Drake. Not only does Kendrick hardly ever drink, but when he does drink, it's exclusively wine.
Yeah, I drink a little bit.
A little bit. What's your preferred beverage?
Just wine. Like
what about,
Jesus.
have you ever?
Now, there is a huge difference in wine and wine coolers. Most men do not drink wine coolers. I'm talking about fruity drinks with soda and tons of sugar. Kendrick uses little keywords like this to let the listener know that this is not his life we're talking about. Kendrick's not drinking wine coolers, guys. Drake is the guy that loves wine coolers. That's pretty much all he drinks. And what's even more interesting is how wine coolers became his beverage of choice in the first place.
Were you drinking white wine spritzer? Completely inappropriate. How old were you?
I don't know, like
I do.
Trifecta, money, morals, and culture. That's my leisure.
In the second line, Kendrick says, trifecta, money, morals, and culture, that's my leisure. And again, this has nothing to do with Kendrick as he continues to rap as Drake here. First off, the definition of a trifecta pertains to gambling on horses, where to win, you need to guess the 3 winning horses in order. That means that in the case of this line, money would come first, morals would come second, and culture will be last. This is how we can easily rule Kendrick's own perspective out, as money is definitely not his first priority. Again, it's little things like this where it's clear to me that he's not rapping from his own perspective here.
Really, money really don't make me. I'm learning that now. You know, that's not really my peace of mind, having money.
In the case of the line as it pertains to Drake, money is seemingly at the forefront of everything that he does. He's willing to put aside morals and culture to get it. This explains why morals and culture come in second and third place within the trifecta. At the end of the day, those 2 things will never really matter for Drake, as money will always dictate his every move regardless. So I mean, when we look at a trifecta by definition, like what it means, the line makes literally no sense pertaining to Kendrick.
My visa, passport tatted, that's your hub in Ibiza.
Once again, I'm not sure how this would ever pertain to Kendrick, as he never raps about shit like this, and there's no documented proof that he has ever been to Ibiza. Not only that, Ibiza is known as the party capital of Europe, which doesn't really seem to be a place that fits into his lifestyle. When we look at how Kendrick structured and set up this first verse, it only makes sense from Drake's perspective, as he was in Ibiza on that exact same yacht. And Drake has referenced Ibiza in his music many, many times.
Grab by Lisa, bring her to Ibiza. Appealing Ibiza, so what? She took dick in Ibiza. We went to Ibiza.
And this whole infatuation with Ibiza, for Drake, this is new. He never talked about it before in his music. It's only these recent years where he's been bringing it up a lot. It's almost like Ibiza has become Drake's new favorite hub. And if you listen to how Kendrick enunciates this line, that's exactly what he says.
That's your hub in Ibiza, your hub in Ibiza.
And I don't know why Drake loves Ibiza so much, but maybe Kendrick does. And again, in very recent times, Drake referenced a tatted passport in his music.
My visa passport tatted.
Tatted your passport up.
So this all ties and flows perfectly together in reference to Drake and how he lives his life. And given the fact that Kendrick rapped from Drake's perspective on Buried Alive, and this track is called 616 in LA, which was a date that they first met and the concept of that record, Kendrick is doing the same here. And the concept of
the Taco Bell Cravings Value Menu. 10 choices, each just $3 or less. Starring the 3-cheese chicken flatbread melt, grilled chicken.
That's why the beginning of this record doesn't even sound like a diss, because he's writing in the style of Drake. There's no clear shots to us, but he's dissing Drake the way that Drake...
The Taco Bell Cravings Value Menu. 10 choices, each just $3 or less. Starring the 3-cheese chicken flatbread melt, grilled chicken and gooey cheese snuggling up together in a pillowy flatbread. Get it on the Cravings Value Menu, only at Taco Bell.
And now we get to the point where I feel Kendrick does indeed switch perspectives back to himself, as it's at this moment where he starts to sing, and when you think about Drake's timestamp records, he doesn't really sing on those tracks at all.
God, my confession is yours.
Now, I saw that people tried to paint this line as if Kendrick was conflicted on whether or not he should go to war with Drake, but honestly, Kendrick has wanted this battle with Drake for a very long time.
But who am I if I don't go to war?
I don't think he's conflicted about the war itself, but he knows where he's about to go with this thing, and he's more or less confessing to God before he even puts his plan into action. Kendrick knows he's about to go on attack, likely committing multiple sins, which will need forgiveness from God. If you pay attention to the way he delivers these lyrics, he's deliberately singing in a very ugly, offbeat, non-sonically pleasing way.
God, my confession.
This singing style reflects Kendrick's internal chaos. He's holding some guilt as a dark side of him is about to emerge. It's like he's saying, like, I'm sorry, God, like ahead of time, I'm sorry, but I gotta do this.
There's opportunity when living with loss. I discover myself but not for sure.
Some people thought that this meant Kendrick was worried about losing to Drake, and if he did, he'd learn something from it. But I don't think Kendrick even considered the possibility of losing this battle. I mean, let's be real here. He had this whole thing mapped out. I believe even at this point, he knew he had a winning strategy. Like, he knew he was going to win this thing. I feel that Kendrick knows that he's about to unleash a beast that we haven't seen before, and he's hinting at an internal struggle. When you think about it, Kendrick doesn't have any music in his catalog that resembles the subject matter on these diss tracks. I think the loss that he's talking about is he's about to lose control of himself, right? He's about to go against everything he stands for, like his faith. However, being a man of God, he knows that the Lord will forgive him, and he knows that going through with this thing will offer an opportunity for even more growth.
Raise my hands to a fallen sky. I fantasize me jumping planets immortalized. I correspond.
So a fallen
616 is like a really good song. It's just, I think it was dropped almost to be diametrically opposed to like Taylor Made Freestyle, which I think we're all gonna just forget, even though I don't think neither are bad tracks. It's just in the history and the impact of things. Yeah, we focus on the other records, but 616 is really good.
Sky is basically an aftermath of a disaster, and it's here where Kendrick is daydreaming about the results of the war. He dreams of jumping planets and becoming immortalized as he's fantasizing about how a victory over Drake would cement his name in the hip-hop history books. And Kendrick's a rapper's rapper. Like, he's a hip-hop guy. And a lot of our legends had beefs, right? So I'm sure he's thought about adding the beef to his resume. He had to. These thoughts are so strong for Kendrick that they overpower his own faith, and it's here where he really decides that he needs to go through with it. He truly confirms this when he says, I correspond, meaning he needs to fulfill this fantasy. So I feel like he's daydreaming about like destroying Drake and getting him out of here and how that'll feel. And then he snaps out of it and he says to himself, I got to do this. I got to go through with it. I correspond.
3 angels watching me all the time.
Kendrick claims that he has 3 angels watching him. And for anyone who's familiar with Christianity, you will be well aware of Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael. These are the 3 main angels chosen by God, and each angel represents something different. Given the fact that Kendrick knows he's about to embark on a journey that's testing his faith, he knows that these 3 angels are with him for guidance on the mission. And guys, he pretty much confirms this by bringing up some of these angels later on in the track. Outside of this biblical reference, in 2013, Kendrick lost 3 of his close friends, Chad, Pup, and Braze. He mentions these guys on multiple songs, but on a YG record, he makes reference to all 3 of them. From what I could gather, he was really close with all 3 of these young men, so it's very possible that the 3 angels is with him is these guys too.
Put my children to sleep with a prayer, then close my eyes. Definition of peace.
So coming off his Euphoria disc, Kendrick painted Drake as a deadbeat dad.
That's whole shit. I got a son on the race, but I can see you don't know nothing about that.
Kendrick states that Drake is not instilling the same family values as he is, and in this line, he confirms that putting his kids to sleep with a prayer gives him 100% peace. This is all he seems to need. With Drake's kid, it's almost like he wants them to be just as famous as he is. Like almost like the Kardashians' kids or something, right? Where he's all up in the interviews, he's in the music videos, he's all over social media. Whereas Kendrick, you're hard pressed to find even a photo of his kids. It's just 2 different parenting styles, we could say at a minimum.
Tell me who gon' stop me. I come from love.
Kendrick makes a reference to himself as he moves with love, strong morals, and integrity, and by
All right, I think you get the majority of it. All right. Roddy Ricch actually did an interview recently. And he talked about hearing the Not Like Us record before it dropped.
With Terrace Martin. Yeah, man. Competition with yourself and your work.
Let me see.
Felt like I had nothing at the same time, man. Like I had a house in a situation, whatever it may be, before you realize, like, man, this ain't it. Yeah. This. Okay. You know, yeah. You had these young producers that we working with, and come on. You know what I'm saying? So just you saying no, like, nah, I listen. Because at some point, man, we think we know it all. Man. Yeah. It's bigger than just me, man. Like, if I can use my platform, my albums to show and just want to get better every day.
That was for us.
I'm still tripped out. I'm seeing 3 different walks at the same time.
Yeah, man.
Nigga understand that. That's 3 different walks, 3 different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And the hand slaps and who was actually on stage and who in the audience. You know what I'm saying? Get on this mic and I can tell people, man, fuck this place up. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Or I can spew something in the streets that feel. Yeah. And it could be in like for.
But a lot of people aren't gonna understand that because they're not where we from.
Right.
You know I mean?
Gotcha.
Where we from. They think like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Pluto and Metro. Them like that's like.
Right now, you don't have to wait till the end. You know where that is.